You just heard the first movement of Sergei Prokofiev's Violin Concerto No. 2. It was a work he wrote while traveling in a lot of different places just before he settled back in Soviet Russia in the 1930s. On violin was Sofia Radovic, and on piano was Daniel Schlossberg. Good morning, I'm Robbie Ellis, producer and presenter of Introductions, which is WFMT's weekly feature of the finest pre-college musical talent in the Chicago area. Today, my guest is soloist Sofia Radovic. She's 17, she hails from St. Charles, Illinois. She's just finished her junior high school year as a homeschooled student, and she studies violin and viola with Desiree Roustrat. She's been a long-time student at Midwest Young Artists Conservatory, and she's also heavily involved in the musical activities of the Holy Resurrection Serbian Orthodox Cathedral in Chicago. We'll hear more about both of those later on, but for now, Sofia Radovic, welcome back to Introductions.
Thank you for having me. This is an honor to play in this show and to show music.
Well, we're very much looking forward to more, and I say welcome back because you have been on with a chamber group before, but here you are in your own right as a soloist. You told me earlier that Sergei Prokofiev is your favorite composer. Why is that?
It's because he was able to take the romantic music, kind of mix it with a little bit of the 20th century, so his music is very unique and like a mix of both of those different genres, which I really like how he does that.
I really like how every Prokofiev piece, you know it's him.
Yeah.
It could be no other composer. This was the first movement of the Violin Concerto No. 2. Out of all of Prokofiev's music, is there a piece that you haven't played yet but you're really dying to?
Well, I recently learned that he had a sonata for 2 violins, so I'm going to have my sister play the violin part for that. I'm going to force her to play it with me because I really like Prokofiev, and I also want to play his War and Peace overture with an orchestra eventually. I don't know which orchestra, but it would be fun to play an orchestral piece like that.
Great, great. Well, later on we'll hear you in music by William Walton, Alan Hovhaness, Vittorio Monti, and another favorite composer of yours, Miriam Kessler, who is an alum of Introductions. But for now, a different local composer. Who wrote this next piece? What's it called? And can you say a bit about it?
It was written by Augusta Reed Thomas, and the title is Incantations. And she wrote this for when she found out her friend was dying. So it was basically like all her emotions that she just wrote down on music, and you get to really experience that when you play. But that's about it because Desiree told me, she introduced me to this piece. I had no idea what this piece was, and she's like, you should play this one for WFMT. So that's how I found out about it.
We're always glad to include Augusta Reed Thomas's music in Introductions, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Sofia Radovic. This is Incantation, the solo violin version by University of Chicago professor Augusta Reed Thomas. You're listening to Introductions. That was Incantation. It's a solo piece which has been on introductions 3 times in the last 3 years, once on cello, once on viola, and once on violin. And Sofia Radovic just played it on violin, 17 years old, from St. Charles. Sofia is back at the microphone now, and I'm guessing you could have played that piece on viola instead, had you chosen to. You're going to be switching instruments for the next piece, but you're playing 2 instruments today. Can you just go into all the instruments that you play besides?
I play violin, I play viola, cello, and piano. I mostly play cello for fun, like at home and at school, but like I compete with violin, viola, and piano. But like all of them are fun, and I like learning new instruments, like using piano theory and just experiencing like different sounds and stuff.
Actually, do you have an instrument that's on your bucket list?
Well, I never tried winds before, so I know all the strings instruments. I want to try the wind instruments now. So
all the strings except double bass. I will say double bassist.
I could dabble in the bass. I could read the notes. I could play them, but I'm not like a bassist. I would say.
No, that's an investment of time and vehicles.
Yeah.
So if I'm not mistaken, you study violin and viola with Desiree Roustrat. When did you start with her?
I started violin with Desiree when I was around 11, I think. And then like a year afterwards, she kind of told me to, try out viola, because she said, like, I think it would be great for you. And I decided to try it. And only 2 months of playing it, I started winning competitions on viola. So I was like, this is really working out for me. So I was like, I'm glad she told me to do that, because it's helped a lot, like learning other instruments and stuff.
Not so bad. Has she given any advice about balancing multiple instruments, like dividing your time between violin, viola, everything else?
Well, yeah, she has. She's like, make sure you have time for everything. But viola is, because there's less repertoire for viola, and it's not as difficult as violin. So like viola is obviously less time consuming than violin. So I usually spend more time on violin anyway.
So go into that. Why is viola less difficult than violin? I have to ask you why you think that.
Well, it's just the repertoire isn't there, and just a less popular instrument, and that's kind of sad. Like, I should be a popular instrument. Not a lot of people play viola, but it's just like it's like you have the concertos that are mostly classical, and then it jumps to like 20th century. There isn't like really anything in between. Like you have Brahms or Tchaikovsky violin concertos that kind of go between like Prokofiev and then Mozart. So like that doesn't really have a viola. So, but that's why it's a little bit easier to play viola, because there's not as much repertoire and less practice time.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, technique-wise, I'm going to guess they're roughly equivalent, but
it is pretty. But you have to change, like it's bigger, and you have to remember that you don't want to play too flat because the violin is smaller, and there's a lot of things that factor into that.
I don't know. As an ex-bassist, I just feel like either instrument is a tiny little toy in my hands, but that's just me. So both you and Desiree are involved in Midwest Young Artists Conservatory. She's a teacher there, and you're a student. What's your involvement been there?
I've been part of MYA for a while now, and I really like their chamber program. My group, the Golden Trio, we got accepted to the quarterfinals of Fish Off, I think 2020. And it was just a fun experience, like fun coaches, and they just kind of push you to sound better. And yeah, MYA was a very nice experience there.
Great. So you have your viola in your hand now. What are you going to be playing next?
I'm going to be playing the Walton Viola Concerto on viola, and it's the first movement.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Sofia Radovic, featured soloist today, joined by Daniel Schlossberg on piano. This is the first movement of William Walton's Viola Concerto. On introductions. The first movement of William Walton's Viola Concerto. It was premiered in London in 1929 with Paul Hindemith as the soloist and played here today by Sofia Radovic, joined by Daniel Schlossberg on piano. I'm Robbie Ellis, and on Introductions today in the Faye and Daniel Levin Performance Studio is violinist and violist Sofia Radovic. She's 17, from St. Charles, Illinois, a homeschooled high school junior, and she studies both violin and viola with Desiree Roustrat. We're going to hear her on viola once again. This is by the Armenian-American composer Alan Hovhaness. He called this piece Chahagir, the Armenian word for torchbearer. It comes from a period of time in his early 30s when he was composing a lot of music based on Armenian folk tunes. Once again, Sofia Radovic on viola. This is Chahagir by Alan Hovhaness on Introductions. with strong Armenian influence. That was a piece called Chahagir. That's the Armenian word for torchbearer. It was by Alan Hovanes and performed by 17-year-old Sofia Radovic on viola. And she's back at the microphone right now on Introductions, holding her violin now. What can you tell me about your start in music between birth and age 17 right now?
I started violin when I was 6. I was definitely influenced by my mom because she plays accordion. She already had like a musical background and she wanted us to do music. So she gave us violin, and I started with the Suzuki method. And then 3 years later, I started piano. And then a couple more years of both instruments. Then I started with Desiree. And then she had me do viola. So it was like this domino effect of picking up instruments along the way.
Fair enough. And you are the oldest of 3, is that right?
Yes, I'm the oldest of 3. I am 17. I have my middle sister, Alexandra, who's 15, and then my youngest sister, Gabrielle, who's 12, and we all play the same instruments. So, like, all the ones that I play, they play the same ones. So it's like we all know the same thing.
Good. Well, your background is Serbian. Radovic is a common Serbian name, and I understand you're quite involved musically in that community too. Can you go into what you get up to there?
Yeah, I'm heavily, I'm in the choir for our church and directed by our choir director, Jelena Stojakovic. She's given us many opportunities to perform, like at choir festivals and things like that. And I was then mentored by Mr. Vladimir Kulanovic. He's also he's part of a bunch of different churches, but he was definitely a very good person to help me through music and with his mentoring and stuff.
So he's a conductor who
works around, and a pianist. And
works in lots of different orchestras around the Chicago area. Yes, that's right. So up next in this introductions recital is music by a friend of yours. How long have you known Miriam Kessler?
Miriam and I have gone to the same co-op since first grade, so that means we've been best friends since first grade. And instead of having play dates, we would have practice dates. So we both started instruments around the same time, and we would get together to practice, and that's how we've been doing it for all this time. And her younger sister Lydia also plays harp and piano, and we all 5 of us would get together and just practice. And we played at numerous gigs, like weddings, parties, and stuff, and we just enjoy playing together. And we started a little group where we arrange pop songs and mixed it kind of with classical, similar to the Two Cellos or David Geard. That's what we do, and we just like to play music together and have fun.
Well, fantastic. Well, Miriam was on this show on Introductions a few months ago, live broadcast, where she played both harp and piano, and she performed a piece of hers. And what she tends to do with titles is not really give them titles; she just gives them opus numbers. So a few months ago, she performed Opus 55 for solo piano, and what's the title of this piece?
Opus 105. It's very unique to her. She doesn't like to have descriptive titles.
Even though she did not provide a descriptive title, can you give us a little clue as to what sort of music we're going to hear?
It is to me, it sounds very impressionistic, but that's a very unique style to her. And she wrote this piece in a couple of hours, I believe, during our Opus Chamber Camp back in August. And then we performed it the day afterwards for a showcase. And we kind of read through it, and it just went well. So I'm glad I get to play it on radio and share it with the rest of the world.
Glad that you get to do it too. Well, thank you so much, Sofia Radovic. She'll be playing violin with Daniel Schlossberg on piano. This is Opus 105 by Introductions alumna Miriam Kessler. Music by an Introductions alumna, a composer, a harpist, and a pianist. Her name is Miriam Kessler. She was on this show earlier this year, actually. On that occasion, she presented her own music, and you just heard a different piece of hers, her Opus 105, performed by Sofia Radovic on violin and Daniel Schlossberg on piano. One last piece in this recital. It is a flashy showpiece that's been arranged for every instrument conceivable. It is the one-hit wonder of Vittorio Monti, who was inspired by Hungarian dance music. And this is the Czardas. Once again, Sofia Radovic on violin, Daniel Schlossberg on piano, performing on Introductions. A sprightly finish to today's introductions recital. One of the more unique takes that I have heard on Vittorio Monti's Czardas featured violinist Sofia Radovic. That's a lot of sliding in there you did. Your interpretation?
Yeah, it was my interpretation. I played this piece back when I was 10 years old with the Wheaton College Symphony Orchestra, and I definitely followed the music more than, I was 10. I've been only been playing for 4 years, but like now I feel like I could definitely add my taste to this.
It is the sort of piece that you can add your own little touches to, and it's a very, very fun way that you did it. I enjoyed it a lot. Just a couple more questions before you go. You're about 1 year away finishing your high school studies, you're homeschooled. Beyond the end of high school, what are your plans?
I am planning on majoring in violin performance. I don't know where yet, but I definitely want to do violin performance along with either law or business, just to like add to that.
Great. And then thinking beyond college, like a grand ambition, something that you musically really want to do, like a dream gig or a dream collaboration or a dream piece to play. Do you have anything like that?
Well, my dream is to play all around the world, especially like play in Europe, Serbia, like Belgrade. But my sisters and I would like to be on the Virtuosos talent show in Hungary. I think Maestro Placido Domingo is part of the judges over there, so it would be like amazing to play for that talent show.
Well, they like talented families on those shows. So, best of luck to you. And thank you for coming on Introductions today.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's Sofia Radovic. She's 17 years old from St. Charles, a homeschooled junior, also a student at Midwest Young Artists Conservatory, and heavily involved in the musical activities of the Holy Resurrection Serbian Orthodox Cathedral. And that is it for Introductions today. The audio engineer was Max Lebien, the video producer was Adela Skovronsky, and the collaborative pianist was Daniel Schlossberg. You can find out more about Sofia Radovic and watch video of this back on the web, wfmt.com/introductions. My name is Robbie Ellis. I'm the producer and presenter of this show. Catch you next time as I feature more of the Chicago area's finest pre-college musical talent every Saturday at 11 a.m. right here on Classical WFMT.